7:45 came way too soon this morning, guys. Luckily, I have coffee to keep me going. I love coffee. It's been a passion of mine. But you know what? There's a lot of coffee drinkers in this room who don't know enough about coffee. I've been a coffee drinker for the past decade, and I've learned quite a bit about it over that few years. So, today I'd like to inform you about how coffee is interesting and how it's an important part of our diet. I'll do this by examining its history, the process of how it's made, and a bit about some nutritional facts. Now, the origin of how coffee first became a drink has many myths. The most popular is that a goat herd saw his goats dancing around after eating coffee berries. The goat herd was a little curious, so he tried the coffee beans himself and soon found himself dancing too. A monk just so happened to be passing by. He took the coffee beans home to his monastery, tried them, and was able to stay awake all night. Word spread, coffee became an overnight sensation. In reality, coffee was actually consumed as early as 575 AD. It was used as a food. Ethiopian tribes would crush up coffee beans into animal fat and eat it like sort of an energy bar. Around 1000 AD, coffee became a drink. It was used for medicinal purposes and prescribed by Middle Eastern doctors as a way to cure any sort of ailment, mainly stomach problems. Soon coffee's popularity rose outside of medicine, and it rose to the point where in the mid-16th century, areas in the cities of Constantinople, Mecca, and Cairo were established just for the purposes of drinking coffee. These areas would become the world's first coffee houses. Around the late 16th century, European travelers tried the coffee drink, and the demand for coffee raised greatly in Europe. But the Arab world controlled the trade of coffee, so it was only a drink for the rich people. That is, until 1616, when Dutch smugglers were able to take coffee and cultivate it in colonies in Java. Coffee was now widely available to the world. And enterprising individuals took this as time to open up coffee houses all over Europe. These coffee houses became a place where people from all walks of life could meet together and discuss philosophies and exchange ideas. They became institutions. Colonialism helped markets open up for coffee in the Americas. And in fact, in the Revolution, it was considered patriotic to drink coffee and treacherous to drink tea. In fact, the Boston Tea Party was planned in a coffee house. At this point, coffee was already an international trade and has only evolved since to become the industry that it is today. But despite the clientele and the methods of drinking coffee have changed over the years, the roasting process is still the same. First of all, coffees are not beans. They are seeds of berries of the coffee plant. There are two varieties of berries, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica is the most widely used. Robusta is not. Robusta has a poor flavor and less caffeine, but it's a more disease-resistant crop. The bean seeds can be cleaned of pulp by one of two methods. Dry method, where they're dried in the sun overnight and then put through a machine to remove the pulp, or wet method, where they are soaked in a bit of a solution to melt down the pulp, then rinsed with water, and then run through a machine and allowed to dry. Then, the dried, clean seeds are then roasted. They roast about 375 degrees Fahrenheit to 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about anywhere from 90 seconds to 15 minutes. This roasting process is what gives coffee its unique flavor, aromas, and texture. Now, the length of roasting depends on what kind of roast you want. Longer roast usually gives you a darker, richer flavor, but less caffeine. Lighter roast, more caffeine, but a more bitter flavor. That's why the medium roast is the most popular roast and the most desired roast. After you have the roasted beans, you can do a variety of things with them to make coffee. The traditional sense is to boil the coffee grounds in a pot of water. This yields a cup of coffee that's very thick, chunky, and bitter. Now, when it spread to Europe, coffee was refined in its methods. They introduced the drip method, where water is passed through coffee grounds through a filter and then into a pot. This made a more clear, better balanced cup of coffee, and it's the most widely used form today. There are other varieties of making coffee too, such as the espresso method, where water is pushed through by pressure through the coffee grounds. There's the plunger method, where coffee grounds are allowed to steep in water and a plunger will push down to the bottom of the pot. And there's also percolator method. But regardless of how you drink, there's been a lot of controversy in recent times about, is coffee healthy for people? It has been claimed that coffee can be the cause of many diseases, such as cardiovascular disease, cancers, osteoporosis, and blood pressure. A recent health article, though, published in the Nutrition Bulletin, a journal, has shown that coffee is not a significant risk to any of these. It's actually the lifestyle of a coffee drinker, such as tobacco use or poor diet or sedentary lifestyle. And in fact, in the cases of cancer, coffee is very helpful. It's chock full of antioxidants that help fight off tumors. Now, coffee is still full of caffeine. Caffeine is very addicting, and it's been suggested that the morning grogginess that coffee drinkers feel isn't just plain exhaustion, but actually withdrawal symptoms of caffeine. And also, caffeine can be harmful to people who are pregnant or nursing. That's why it's suggested to limit your coffee intake to about 3 cups a day, and you should be fine. So, in conclusion, let's review. Coffee has an established and unique history. It has a very interesting method of how it's made and can be made in a variety of ways, and despite recent health claims, it's actually pretty good for you. So, I love coffee. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. 7:45 may come a little early tomorrow morning, but at least I got a cup of love to keep me going.